Hi everyone, welcome back for a new episode of my Road to Master series. So after a rather successful last game that I invite you to have a look at on my YouTube channel, Sungluten, now we're hope for more of the same. So let's see what we have here. We will be player 2, which I really like. It's probably my definite favorite position to start in. Let's have a look a bit at the deck. Disposal facilities one I really like, obviously, since you probably start to realize that I love trashing cards and having a small but powerful deck, sometimes even at the expense of winning, so that's probably my biggest weakness in terms of playing Dune. But let's also have a quick look at the Imperium row. A Test of Humanity is a really interesting one. Worm Riders obviously as well, a bit more expensive. Sardaukar Legion is also a good card. Freeman Camp, not too bad. Yeah, we have quite a good row here as well. Obviously, first choice was Baron, which you can have expected. Then Armand. I mean, we already played Helena, so I would suggest to... I mean, Helena, because obviously the Imperium row is not too bad, so it's not a bad shout usually. But I think I like the Viscount as well, HUNDRO. Especially when being player 2, we can hope to get an early access to Interstellar shipping. His signal really helps with that as well. So let's see what that game gives us. Let's hope for a good first hand, which is actually quite important. Oh, that's a choice. I mean, strategy push is not bad, especially early game with Solari bringing you closer to a Swordmaster, but plans within plans, that's something else. That's something, especially when you get it early in the game, you can really build up to that, and it's so powerful. Okay, so that's not a great hand. We don't have any triangle access, so if she takes full space, we might be a bit stuck, but thankfully she doesn't. Also, the problem is we have both faction accesses here, so next turn for sure we won't have it, which is also a bit of a problem in the end. At least in terms of getting access to that coveted spot early. Yeah, I mean, let's just go anyways. And let's see, if Baron doesn't go to Hardy Warriors, that could be a good idea for us, although I expect him to go. That's the usual play, obviously. Oh, still suits. That's quite interesting. So he's probably just committing maximum one troop, yeah, to keep that reserve to prepare his Master Stroke probably for next turn. We would actually like winning that conflict, that's why I was talking about Hardy Warriors, is maybe to fully commit in that conflict and hopefully gain that little shipping movement, which would bring us up one here, and next turn we could go to smuggling, and thanks to the Signet ability, get to that level and being able to recall directly, which would give us that second level that we really want quite early, hopefully. But let's see if we get to that first place. One dagger in hand. We have one intrigue card, although we know it's not a combat. None of them know that, obviously. So we can expect them to maybe think twice before engaging. more troops here. Armand taking probably the best of the bunch, at least one of my favorite in that row. And going for the usual play, at least one that I like to do as well with Armand, being wealth to Menta to be able to play that third agent in those non-faction spaces, which will allow him to trash a card at the end of his round. Let's see what Baron does. Seems to commit one more troop, which is a bit strange. Maybe just trying to discourage Armand to compete with him, which could be actually a good play to secure that third place. We will go for an Arrakis liaison here, because I'm not a big fan of Desert Ambush. I mean, overall, I like Persuasion. I think it's, especially early game, quite useful to try and acquire those good cards, like Sandworm, like Sardaukar Legion that we have here. So let's see what her name is again. Ariana. Ariana having one intrigue card. I don't really like, but I hope she will think twice before playing it in case it's a combat one, as we would really want to win that conflict. Being able to get that one spice for the signet ring and get that shipping move here. She passes, that's perfect. Okay, that's a good start in my book. Also being able to use our two faction accesses on round one, just getting a bit of that influence that we will need by end of the game. So that's something we really want to focus on as well. So here we can probably go first with... No, actually I need to go with the signet ring, so that round 2 I have this, I mean turn 2, sorry, I have it unlocked. So we recall, we choose the Solari to get a bit closer to that Swordmaster. And we obviously choose the Spacing Guild. Wealth again for Armand. Is he doing that play with the Menta again, maybe? No, he won't be able to. That seems to be a conflict Ariana wants to get involved in, which makes sense. Having control of Carthage, or Carthag, is a sensible play, especially early. You get that extra Solari, and it's usually quite an attractive space for that troop and that intrigue card. So here, do we actually want to recall immediately to prepare for a Swordmaster next round? I'm not sure, because that will give her 6. Yeah, but she doesn't really have any other way of gaining Solari this turn with this agent, so we would probably still be first in line to get it. But I think given no one else is even close to that access to interstellar shipping, I'd like to try and get those influence from that shipping track as much as possible. And let's see if there's any tech we would like to pick up on the way. I mean, maybe Sonic Snoopers, because we can get it for free from here, and one intrigue card is never something we refuse. Then again, recalling and advancing again lines us up directly for another double shipping progression, let's call it, to again get that extra influence. So Ariana taking it. Yeah, let's take another liaison. I'd like sooner rather than later to get those faction accesses, but those cards are not like ideal for that. And anyways, I don't have the persuasion, so we will have to do with what we are given for now. Disposal facility is gone. What did it reveal? A Holtzman engine. That's quite powerful, especially early game, to be able to build up on those spice mist flows. Be able to plan ahead. A bit like those endgame cards that you'd like to pick up as early as possible to develop towards that goal. The voice. It's also a card I'd like to have, very useful, although no faction access, so but obviously you cannot have everything on the same card. Would be too good. Oh, we should actually know. We should have actually known from the start which card Ariana picked, right? Given we chose with our passive ability, we chose plans within plans, but we had the choice with that card she just played. And thanks to that card, had we recalled here, she would have enough Solari for a Swordmaster before us. So a bit of a different reasoning that pushed me to go up here, but in the end it was the right call. And Armand also ready for the Swordmaster. Ariana should actually not be able to have it this round. So it will be first Armand, then Ariana, and then hopefully me by that time, which pushes us to round 5. It's not ideal, it's a bit late to get the Swordmaster, but that's a bit what we chose as well, with developing that shipping track maybe a bit higher than what should have been, but I mean, it depends on the style of play. I like to get my Swordmaster early, but here I think these influences will really play a bigger role at the end of the game. So, should I directly go to interstellar shipping just to be safe? Because technically, I mean, none of them have intrigue cards. Baron's Master Stroke could bring him up here, but then too late for this round anyways. So maybe I should play something else first. I don't really want to play the Arrakis Liaison, although I'd like potentially to go to Carthage, but it leads me to 6 Persuasion, which gives me a bit more flexibility as to what could also pop up later, given I'm last player. This Imperium row will most likely change a bit by the time I'm in a position to buy cards. Then again, let's just... Yeah, I'm strongly hesitating, but yeah, let's just keep that persuasion and see if that brings us something. Let's commit for 2 troops. I mean, we're the first players, so everyone still has agents, but I mean, first player to commit troops in here. Everyone still has agents to send, but I would believe this is strong enough for them to reconsider as well, jumping in. At least not all of them. So that's Baron's water gun, so he won't get his master stroke before at least getting one more water back in his reserve, probably by going to still suits at some point. And let's see if we should go actually picking up. I mean, the only one we can pick is the Sonic Snoopers. I'm not sure we really want that. I think the right call here would be to recall and to re-advance by one. Here, let's take the Solari. That lined us up nicely for both the Swordmaster and potentially a Dreadnought, or very close to a High Council as well. Here, let's push up that Emperor a bit, given it's not spots I often go. Can be sensible to already get it up without going there, basically. We kind of need to, if possible, be as attentive as possible to a potential memo corridor coming up, because that would be a very nice synergy with our plans within plans, giving us 3 victory points for reaching those 3 influence everywhere. Would be really interesting. Now, what are we doing here? So where did Dragon Soul go? He went to Arakin, so he'll probably commit troops. Let's actually discard a card, I think. I mean, Stilgar could be a nice... Yeah, no, let's lose a deployed troop. 4 is anyways not enough to compete with him. In case he wants to win the conflict, he can bring in 6 in terms of strength. Baron already sent all his agents out, so he's technically not able to, unless intrigue card, not able to join. So I should at least get a 3rd spot here. And that seems to be what will happen. And even with that troop, that had I chosen not to lose that troop, I would be at 4, so I would still be 3rd. Surprising that she doesn't, that Ariana doesn't go full in. Let's take maybe a faction access. I think I like Stilgar more, although I like the reveal with a little shipping advancement. I think with our signet ability and our interstellar shipping unlocked, we already have a lot of that, and Stilgar is a bit more versatile, I would say. With his reveal being both persuasion and daggers, and his accesses as well. They're actually similar, the accesses, the agent icons, I mean. Yeah. I like also counting how much influence everyone has all in, just to see how advanced or lagged we are in terms of overall influence. So here we have 1, 3, 4 in total. Ariana has 2, 3. Armand has 3, and that's it. And Baron has 1, 2. So we are quite ahead in that regard, although it can change quickly, but it's still good to keep track of that, to just have a bit of an idea where we stand compared to others. Also knowing where or when players have one influence, it's already, let's say, half a victory point given. You just need one more progress here to get a victory point. So it's quite an easy one to grab. And it's good to keep a measure of that, having 3 victory points and potentially all your factions at one influence is much more powerful than having those victory points thanks to, let's say, 2 advanced ones and 0 on the other ones. So obviously Ariana grabbed the Swordmaster. I think a tech was picked up by Baron. Invasion ships is a very interesting one, but a bit too expensive for us right now. We probably want to go. What do we want to do this round? I mean, interstellar shipping is obviously something we'd like to do as long as nobody else has access. I think that can wait one round. And High Council is probably also something we'd like to do. What do we have in our deck? 2 daggers. Let's get one out of the way thanks to the fall space. I believe that would be a good play. Let's go with the fall space. No, let's keep that flexibility. Let's go with Signet Ring. Let's do this to advance. And that's a High Council. For next round, we'd like to keep 1 dagger in the deck, just to be sure that we can go grab the Swordmaster. But we can maybe get 1 out of the way thanks to the fall space. Because obviously a dagger is quite restrictive in what it does. Now what I'm not a big fan of is that diplomacy fall space would allow me to also develop a bit those faction influence, but then again, interstellar shipping as well. But I mean, having a 3rd agent now, you see all the value I could be able to, basically be in a position to do both going to a faction and doing that shipping that we like. Quite surprising that none of them treat this as somehow a priority. Oh, now Ariana doing it makes sense, I think. And given she plays right before me, it's a bit the worst player for me to have that access, given she will play before me 3 times out of 4. So let's just go to interstellar shipping. We are just not in a position to get invasion ships. So I think we will just recall. And go on there. We will take the spice. And I'd like to get an alliance obviously at some point, so maybe the Spacing Guild is what would make sense. Then again, I'd also like to... I think it makes sense to go up here to just state our intention and potentially deter Ariana or other players to see that as a free path to an alliance. We have 6 persuasion, maybe a guild accord could make sense, given that we just also decided to try and fight for that alliance. And it gives us 1 faction access, which can be valuable. Reverend Mother is actually a very interesting one as well. She would give us more flexibility in terms of faction access. Gives a nice reveal, a nice agent effect in case we have. I think we do have one, no? Seems we don't have any other Bene Gesserit, so that would not be a very useful agent effect for us, at least as of now. But I believe it could still make sense, given I think it's Armand who already picked up a couple. Maybe just one then. Interesting, we don't see what he acquired with his signet ability. Because I do remember he acquired that Test of Humanity. So not much more here we should be doing. It is an interesting choice, but I think I will still go for Guild Accord because it seems to have more like routes to use for us in terms of both the agent effect can be useful. The agent icon obviously will help us getting that alliance. Oh, guild bankers, that is also a very interesting one. Both for its faction accesses, but also the reveal effect is very powerful and can be a definite game changer. My personal record is buying 3 Spiceman's Flow in 1 turn with it, so I gathered actually 18 persuasion to be able to grab 3 of them, and that was really like a game changer. Now Ariana picked it up, obviously, which makes sense. And let's keep that maybe in mind, given she's already at 5 victory points. She actually used her intrigue card for that victory point, which I don't fully agree with. I think this should be done unless you overshoot your number of intrigue cards. Should be done at the end of the game. You keep 7 Solari constantly, and you just keep it as a surprise and as a potential secret intrigue card, which none of us know what it is, so it can also impact our thinking when going into a combat, for instance. So obviously weakness of interstellar shipping overall is that we kind of give up on the conflict. So that's something we have to trade off on. But then again, we build our garrison nicely, and then we will definitely take a more active part in combat, starting from at least round 7, maybe one before if something interesting pops up. Let's see what Baron has as a tech again, just to keep an eye on. Holtzman engine, true, and the disposable facility, which should synergize quite nicely, but he needs to work on his high council and other persuasion. So obviously Ariana took it, playing before us, which makes sense. Now this conflict could be very interesting for us, given we are hungry of influence. Let's see what we can do about that. I'd really like to get 2 more 2 more spices to potentially go to a Hayliner. Would be very interesting. I don't need to go grab my Swordmaster right now, because Baron is quite far from having it. Now, do I want to go grab some water? Because I don't think, I mean, here I can get 1 spice. Here I could recall to just get 2 spice out of it, but then again, it could be the play. It could be an interesting play. I think we will do it, because in the end here, waiting for that interstellar shipping will give me 1. Influence, while going to Hayliner next round would allow me to potentially choose 2 and prevent my opponents of doing so. So it's a bit of a double reward there. Agabestin, very good call given all the spice to be collected there. So here not much to think about, just a Swordmaster. We will end up with 6 persuasion, which hopefully leaves us the Reverend Mother. But obviously depends on the choices of our opponents, especially Oriana and Baron, actually, given he's got 1 less agent. The Guild Accord to Hayliner play will also allow us to get that alliance and those 3 Solari, which hopefully we will be able to reinvest in a Dreadnought very soon. I usually like to be able to buy a deck with it to make full use of the benefits of that space. However, it's probably a bit too expensive for us, and the Sonic Snoopers is really, I mean, to me at least, not worth like delaying the Dreadnought for. No one getting in the conflict. Oriana now putting in 1 troop, knowing that Baron most likely won't be able to do so. Let's do that play. Now the question is, how much do we need to put in? We have 3 daggers here. Armand could potentially... No, he doesn't have the water. But he does have a garrison, so let's say he comes here, puts in 3 troops. And here, for instance, putting another 2 troops, so he could put in 5. So let's put in 5 with those daggers, although he's got 3 entry cards, so let's maybe, just to be safe, put another one. And hopefully this will be enough for him not to even consider competing for first spot. And this still leaves us with a nice garrison. 4 troops in there is a very nice position to be in. hold space, which is good for us, in the sense that at least that's one agent that he cannot use to commit troops, so he probably gave up on being first there, unless one of those intrigue cards can help him regardless. Like, yeah, I mean, even a rapid mobilization just sends him 3 troops in. So yeah, I think we're in a good position to win that conflict. And Baron takes the Reverend Mother, which is a bit of a shame for us. This is just interesting for the acquisition effect, just getting up 1 again and lining us up for interstellar shipping to gain some more influence again. But I think it will have to be the Smuggler's Scepter. That's a very interesting one, especially in our position where we like that shipping track, where we have that influence. I think it's a very quick decision here. And probably a Spice Hunter to just get that Freeman access once more. We have Stilgar for that, and we have this one now. That should be enough, and at least ensuring that our diplomacy can be used for the other factions, especially Bene Gesserit and Emperor. But Bene Gesserit in priority, given Emperor, we will most likely focus it thanks to that shipping track, and maybe that reward will go to Emperor and probably Bene Gesserit then as well. He used Test of Humanity, right? And given I didn't have any cards left to play, to discard, he made me lose a troop, which is an interesting, let's say, side effect of Test of Humanity, is being able to control what your opponent, or force your opponent into doing something once, let's say, he's done with revealing already. You know that it would make him lose a troop, so it can be a very powerful tool. And it actually took Ariana out of the conflict, so it looks a bit like an overkill, but let's say this made sure no one else even had the idea of competing. So we are now round 6, with quite an interesting position to be in. Here we're just technically missing 1 for that plans within plans. Here we should be good unless someone contests us, so we need to focus on basically Bene Gesserit as soon as we have diplomacy, and Freeman alliance, the Freeman influence will be coming with Stilgar and the Spice Hunter. I think now what is of most interest to us is probably the Great Flat. Gives us a lot of spice. I think it's the first thing we would want to do. I mean, obviously that interstellar shipping is always interesting, but sometimes I think we need to reprioritize and make sure we don't miss out on interesting rewards just by obsessing over this spot. Didn't want to commit any troops given we are the very first player, and that was the very first agent sent out, so we don't know exactly what others will be doing. Sorry, what did Armand do? Finesse. Interesting, he wanted access to the interstellar shipping. What is he acquiring? Invasion ships, probably. Which would put him in a very nice position in terms of garrison. So he's at 9, which is both risky and powerful. Risky because you cannot use any more of this kind of powerful spots, given that you only have 12 troops in maximum. So now he can only mobilize or recruit another 3 maximum, and meaning he needs to deploy them by going to combat spaces repeatedly, which is not the worst position to be in, right? But it's good keeping in mind that you cannot recruit much more now. And that's the master stroke for Baron. So now everyone has access to the shipping spot, interstellar shipping. What do we want to do? Oh, the memo corridor, that we need to jump on directly. Well, that's gonna be perfect. I thought of going to Dreadnought, most likely with the dagger. And that is what we will be doing. And we keep the signaturing for the last agent, given its flexibility with much more agent icons than our other cards. It's a bit easier to keep in mind and to use in the future. So now I think we will take our last jump here, scaring a bit Armand as well at the same time. And now with that memo corridor, I mean, it was already our absolute priority, but now it became even higher than that in terms of getting those 3 influence everywhere. That's the only thing that matters now, to be honest, on top of the conflicts, obviously, but that's a good situation to be in because we want to go to those Freeman spots, and those will help us as well, jumping in the conflict. And that's what we caused Armand to do. He probably didn't really need to do that otherwise, but given the alliance was threatened, he felt like that was his next move, and rightly so. So let's see what we have next round. Diplomacy, which will most likely have to go to secrets or selective breeding, potentially. So now it's going to be the signet ring. Definitely not to Arakin, because there is a high chance, I mean 33% chance to get diplomacy, and we don't want to draw it at all. So it will be to Qatar. That's always interesting. So let's just spend 1. We still have 2 in us for selective reading next turn if we want to go there. Secrets would also be fine. Anything to get that Bene Gesserit track, up that track basically. So here, let's commit the Dreadnought for free, given it will anyways come back to our garrison if we don't win the conflict. And if it allows us to pick 1 or 2 spies, it is something we wouldn't say no to. And that leaves us with 5 persuasion. Sardaukar Legion could be. And I'm not very interested in those agent icons, but the reveal effect is still nice. Agent icon, I mean agent effect is also not too bad, so maybe to go pick a Manta or something could make sense. Imperial Bashar is also Also a good card. Let's see. Interesting, probably too. Still suits. Ah, secret. Okay, trying to claim that alliance as well. What deck actually popped up? Shuttle fleet. Could be useful for us as well. I mean, just in terms of getting 2 more influence. But I don't think it should be a priority at this point. I think we should be able, 1, go to secrets or selective breeding, once interstellar shipping, hopefully, which would give us that promotion, and that would be Bene Gesserit sorted. And here we have Stilgar and Spice Hunter to be able to go there as well. Might be a bit tight, given next turn is already round 7, and some of my opponents already have some nice victory points. So now let's reveal and see what we should be buying with that. There's not much I like, so I think it will have to be a Sardaukar Legion. Chris Knife with that Freeman access. And that reveal effect actually, which could have been useful for us as well. So that's 1 spice for us. Let's see. That's not a great hand. We don't have much choice in terms of what we can do. I'm thinking maybe even starting by maybe Manta is blocked, so that won't be the case. Something to draw cards, so Arakin could be an idea as well with Arak's liaison. Or actually no, diplomacy to selective breeding, I think is the most interesting play. The only problem is we need to trash something. Should we actually trash the guild accord? That could be an idea. Because I mean, I don't really need to go back here. Although, I mean, obviously a Highliner for 4 is always interesting. But right now, my discard is empty. I don't want to trash the diplomacy itself. I like having those persuasion because we're, in the end, I mean, technically we could buy a Spice Must Flow right now. So I think by going to selective breeding, trashing something that doesn't have persuasion, we should be in a position to buy a Spice Must Flow at the end. So I think that will be the play. Although Guild Accord is a good card and it hurts a bit to trash it. I think it's the best we can do right now. And it gives us, I mean, some resources obviously, which also drives that decision. Okay, so we could use it to go to one of those two spots to gain a bit on that Freeman side, maybe even both, hopefully. Although that would prevent us from buying a Spice Must Flow. But it puts us in a very comfortable position in terms of our end game plans. But I mean, that's quite a stretch, given that it means both these spots would need to be free for us to go. So let's see. Oh, that's a flagship. That is one expensive purchase, but one that usually makes sense, especially in those level 3 conflicts, having this possibility of, I mean, obviously the victory point is nice, but also the possibility of maybe paying 4 Solari for extra troops is very powerful. It basically means that, for instance, if you go to a city spot with a troop here, this troop plus those 3 that you can deploy, recruit and deploy from that card means you can send out 4 already by default, which is in the end quite close to a Hayliner. So, and for a bit cheaper, 6 spice in my book is much more expensive than 4 Solari. So it's, I mean, all in all, a very powerful card to have, tech to have. Okay, perfect. Since no one was interested in Hardy Warriors, I think it will be the play for us to jump in that conflict and show everyone we also want to take part in those rewards. I think we can already do that. I mean, it's quite situational, so let's do it when we can do it. Now our deck looks a bit empty in terms of faction accesses where we need to go, being the Bene Gesserit and the Freeman. So I think we will have to play this Freeman to still suits if we can, to at least get that behind us, and then having only the Bene Gesserit to be able to upgrade it with the shipping track. It should be fine. Although that prevents us obviously from getting a Spice Must Flow. That is a bit annoying. I think it has a better potential for the long term. Let's see a bit everywhere where everyone stands in terms of decks and victory points. So here, nothing that influences really combat or endgame. It's about the Spice Must Flow for the Baron, but he doesn't have any, so it might, I mean, it seems a bit compromised for him. He's got 3 intrigue cards, so let's see also where, I mean, plans within plans, I do have it, so I don't think there is more than 1 in the deck, although I'm not sure about that. 0 tech for Ariana. So here we will discard a card, so that puts us already out of the Spice Must Flow anyways. But the goal is to still compete potentially for the first spot, because we have the 4 spice for a second victory point, which would put us in a very good position, to be honest. I'm really hoping that next turn we get the Smuggler Thopter. Did I see correctly 9 daggers here? Oh, that's insane. Ixian engineer, given he's got 4 techs, and not cheap ones on that. He spent a lot of spice. Interesting. Duncan, Idaho. I don't think it's something we really are interested by right now, but it's overall still an interesting card. So let's hope Ariana leaves us that still suit spot open. Seems to be the case. So let's just do it, and what is interesting with that as well, it gives us 2 water in total, thanks to Stilgar's agent effect. So in a good position to potentially research station at some point for a Spice Must Flow, and that would be a nice combo with also Smuggler Thopter being able to draw 2 cards, going to that shipping track, hopefully completing our quest of 3 influence everywhere, would put us in a very favorable position. A bit of healthy trashing for Armand. Let's see what is going on here. There's a lot of entry cards, so I don't really expect to end up being first here, to be honest. But even second, we would take it for just a victory point. But let's see what is going on. They still see as well that we have an entry card, obviously, so it could also play a role. And that's the Spice Must Flow, I assume, for Ariana. So what are we doing with our 6 persuasion? I don't think it will matter much, given we have 9 cards in the deck anyways, and we get to those final turns. But let's maybe still take that Chris knife in. I mean, it can be interesting. Oh, that would have been a much more interesting one to be able to pick up. But that's always how it is. Let's just take a bit of persuasion in case. Yes, we don't want the scout. Oh, well, that puts him in front. Let's see if Baron also... that's a bit of a bummer for us. Denies us the victory point. At least he doesn't take it himself, as it stands. But it's still not ideal. Although it puts us at 6 spies, so we could use it for a Hayliner in case. Although, actually, we don't have any access to Hayliner. So, not ideal. That makes sense. To just see if my entry card allowed me to go further, so that he doesn't burn his second combat card for nothing. Now he's so I didn't react on what he did. So he can be fairly confident I don't have what it takes to get more involved in that combat, let's say. I mean, it's not great for us, committed still 5 troops to that conflict, losing them, and compared to to the Archduke Armand, having 7 troops in his garrison. Okay, now it's time to bring out the A game. Everyone's very well advanced. We kind of have hidden plans, let's say, but we need to make sure we have all of it ready. And we need to still try potentially to at least compete in that conflict. So I think the plan would be ideally Smugglerthopter to... I mean, is there even something we'd like here? Not really. But it could still make sense to just pick up... I mean, a restricted ordnance could help potentially. Interesting. So we have access to interstellar shipping, which I think we will take advantage of right now. Finalizing our plans within plans. Let's first see what we draw. Not ideal. Okay, a bit of persuasion, but not even enough here. Research station already taken. So there is not much of a chance for a spice must flow, but let's see. Okay, let's start with what we know. Let's still buy... So we only have one dagger, so this would actually not have much of a power for us. This could, so let's try. Although I don't have that much access to combat. I mean, I need to hope to a certain extent that they leave me a few spaces on those non-faction board spaces. But yeah, let's try it. And let's obviously take spice, given that will be the first tiebreaker. Kinda hoping for Arakeen, I would assume. We don't have much persuasion here anyways, so it's not ideal. Yeah, we cannot make it for a spice must flow. Unless we send a dagger to Menta or to tech negotiation on top of that. But tech negotiation is really not something we'd like to do right now, I think. Given we need to try and get busy in the combat. Yeah, Baron finalizing his influence points makes sense. And that's good for us, meaning he cannot really get involved that much in the conflict. Menta is taken. Oh, but we have Sardaukar Legion on reveal, which can help as well to just deploy some of those troops. So maybe Arakeen, hoping for reconnaissance, leaves us at 8 persuasion, and then dagger to tech negotiation gives us 9. That could work. I think we should try it. Let's just hope reconnaissance pops up. And obviously not. Well, that denies us one victory point. It is a bit of a bummer. Nothing here that would give us a chance for persuasion. Yes, I think in that case, keeping those daggers to just increase our combat strength, going with Araki's liaison, hopefully to Kartag, giving us maybe a combat card or something that can be useful. Worst case, hopefully still to Siege Tabr for an additional troop. and maybe we can still compete nicely in that conflict. Baron with his 1,000 daggers. Let's see what Ariana does. That one persuasion that we so badly needed. And that's Carta gone. But it was kinda expected, to be honest. At least we have one spot to still recruit one more troop. Yeah, I think that's the play. So he picked up just one Spice Must Flow, which won't be enough for his Holtzman engine, which is good news for us. And no Spice Must Flow here, so even if he does have a corner of the market, it's not gonna help him. No tech for Ariana, true. But one Spice Must Flow as well, so corner of the market won't help anyone in case of endgame. And that should be, I mean, one endgame card that could help actually Baron is the one about having 3 techs or more. Early reveal for Spice Must Flow, which kinda helps us hopefully to get something out of that conflict. And by something I obviously mean and hope first place for the 2 victory points, which would still give us a chance at being first in the game. Let's not buy anything. No daggers, which is good for us. But now it's all about those intrigue cards. Everyone has 2, and most likely still some combat cards. How did that happen? Sorry. Ah, he also has a Sardaukar Legion. Kinda missed that. Which puts him dangerously close from us. Let's just hope he passes there. And that's game. Ah. It's really not ideal. Obviously. Puts him just in front of us. So, yeah, maybe we can still hope for a second place, but it's best we can obtain from that. Let me just send a quick message in the chat to also promote a bit the channel. Not sure it went through, strangely. Okay. Maybe too late. And that's a second place for us, thanks to a Spice tiebreaker. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, please, to like and subscribe. It would be awesome. And please don't forget, also every Sunday I'll be live. So feel free to drop by and we can have some interactions there. Thanks again, and see you soon. Bye bye.